I'm Emilia Nieminen, the creator of Inamorata dolls. I'm really excited to introduce you to the next generation of Inamorata, the 4.0. I just finished sculpting this prototype a few weeks ago, and to my relief, it has now arrived safely to the caster. Recording this voiceover was delayed because I got sick, but I'm okay now. While I show you some new range in posability, I'll be answering some frequently asked questions about what's new in the 4th generation of Inamorata dolls. In return, I hope you can answer some of my questions, so please comment to help me decide things for the next pre-order. The most common question is obviously, when can I order a doll? My caster told me that they can start casting in November at the earliest. That is, provided that we can get through the sample making process by then. It usually takes 2 to 3 samples before casting can begin, and international shipping still has huge delays due to the pandemic. If everything goes well, I can open the pre-orders in the autumn, maybe in late October. I don't want to take anyone's money before the casting schedule is all set. The casting usually takes 3 to 6 months depending on the size of the order. To keep posted, you can sign up for my newsletter on the website. Just check the link in the description. I hope you are as excited as I am to see the samples and do the first painting test on the new Scalps. The second most asked question is measurements. The short answer is that the measurements should be close to the 3rd generation doll, as I did try my best not to make changes to the proportions. However, I won't be able to tell exact measurements until I have the sample doll at hand. This is because resin shrinkage from casting can be kind of unpredictable. More solid parts shrink more than thin ones, for example, which is why joints that are super tight on a prototype sometimes end up loose on the cast doll. I always try my best to compensate for the shrinkage, but it's still guesswork. I promise to take measurements and try on lots of different clothes from different doll companies when I get the first sample. The third most asked question is what resin shades will be available for this pre-order. The casting minimum is 10 dolls per resin tone, and this pre-order will likely be limited to only 30 dolls, meaning 3 skin tones from the full palette of 5. So, in the picture you can see the milk, latte, caramel, chocolate and coffee skin tones. So, what are your top 3 options? If I had to pick 3, my instinct would be to cover the widest possible range and have milk, caramel and coffee dolls cast. The latte is usually the most popular skin tone, but the tones are really small step away from each other, so that hyper-realistically plussed milk kind of becomes bare resin latte and so forth. So, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Many people excited about the new Marilyn Monroe-inspired head sculpt called Lorelei have asked if this is a one-of-a-kind or limited offer head. She did start out as a one-of-a-kind head I've been working on for nearly 2 years. She was a tough cookie to crack, but the original customer has most generously agreed to share the sculpt, and the head will be available as part of the next pre-order. The pre-order will still be extremely limited. Each generation of Inamorata dolls, the body and head sculpts are unique to that casting batch. The usual amount for casting appointment is only 30 dolls, so many sculpts having only 1 head sculpt cast per each resin tone. So what else is new? I gave all the joints a little tweak to improve posability. For example, I changed the way the doll's arms are strung. Each arm now has its own string, no more little twitches of interaction with the neck and other arm when posing. The more obvious change is in the thigh joints. People had a hard time discovering my previous hidden thigh joints, so I changed them to be more easily accessible and added new range of motion. The usual visible slits on the hip joints are still a pet peeve of mine, so there was a whole lot of trial and error to reinvent the mechanics to hide them. I'm very happy with the new mobility that allows legs to be crossed for proper can-can side kicks. She can really pop those hips now, making side curves even more sensuous. The neck joints have a wider range of movement too, so this lady just slithers like a snake. Another big addition is in bust sizes. I sculpted a new epic bust size, bringing the Inamorata 4 lineup to 3 optional cup sizes. The one on the doll here is the small, aka Andro bust, that debuted in the 2nd generation. This one is the original Inamorata bust that used to be called Busty option or large in the 3rd one. I've been pondering how to name the bust sizes now that the so-called large is not the largest anymore. I decided to keep it simple, and for this pre-order they will simply be called S, M and L. For anyone confused with the different busts and generations, I wrote a short post with generation comparison table to my website news. I'll link it to the description. Oh, I made such a mess while playing with the doll. Let's sort all these bits out. So here's something new: gloves. I've always been obsessed with colorful gloves as fashion accessories and used to paint fashion royalty hands to look like gloves during my early years as a collector. That was a decade ago, but it was about time I made 2 pairs of hands for Inamorata that are sculpted as gloves. There is a pair of driving gloves with bare knuckles and fingers, and another pair of full gloves that can have sleeves added to create long opera gloves and other fun looks. These are the Ballet Hands. And this pair is for holding objects. Which one would you like as a standard pair? In the last generation, I had a mixed pair of one of each, and rest of the hands were sold as a set. Now I'm thinking of selling the hands separately as pairs. Let me know what you would prefer. I'm not 100% sure I should have this expressive pair from the previous generation cast anymore. Do you like them? It's up to you. Cast or retire? Just let me know in the comments. I also made a new pair with long nails. This was one of the most requested items for the new generation, so sorry I had to wait this long, and thank you for the feedback. Both the hands and gloves will fit all the previous generation of Inamorata and will be available as separate items in the pre-order. Oh, that's the dressing hand, so you can get through all those tight sleeves and bracelets. They obviously come in pairs, and I use these for shipping, but they are cast from a single master. There are 3 feet options like in the 3rd generation, but I put a lot of work into sculpting textural detail of skin for the feet and other areas of the body. The hands and feet already had wrinkles, but I made the skin appear more rough in the heels and balls of the feet, the ankle bones, etc. I also sculpted realistic texture onto the areolas. I added new realism with wrinkles around the eyes and on elbows, scratched fingerprints on fingertips, and made lip texture more refined. I really hope the caster can capture all this detail. On to the shoes. The classic stiletto heels got some new detail as well, and I revived 2 of my earliest heel sculpts, the Chinese lacquer landscape heels from Inamorata Indro on 2013 and the Hokusai heels I sculpted for Sybarites in 2011. I refined the designs a bit and adjusted them to fit the slightly higher arch of the current Inamorata dolls. One completely new addition is the so-called art bust. Many people like to buy one doll body with 1 or 2 more additional heads, so I created a classical torso to display the extra heads. The bust uses the same neck ring mechanism as the dolls and can be posed in different ways on the pedestal. There are 3 completely new head sculpts: the crumpy little Akech, the mature beauty Elizabeth, and iconic bombshell Lorelei, bringing the Inamorata 4.0 lineup to 8 different face sculpts to choose from. As for the old gang, I'll be keeping the old sculpt names from the 3rd generation for clarity, even though they have evolved. I softened the overall look a bit, gave the faces more emotional expression, and a few other tweaks that you've requested. Tia received the much requested closed lips, Nsia took up meditation during the pandemic and has a serene Mona Lisa smile. Alita became quite melancholic during the lockdown, but who can blame her? Sura and Shani were the most popular sculpts of the third generation, so I changed them the least. They are merely a bit softer from eating too many snacks in the past year. Hope you will love the old and new characters, the improved body and all the options. I thank you for the enthusiastic feedback you've given me over the years. I always take it into account when designing the next generation. Please comment to influence the resin tones and other casting choices of the coming pre-order. I really could not do this without you. Creating dolls is so much more than a job for me. It's a passion, obsession, a compulsion. Thank you for making it possible.